This woman's name is Ruby Griffiths, but she's famous with her husband's last name, Ruby Franke. Ruby Franke was born in the year 1982 in the state of Utah, and just like a lot of Utah citizens, she was part of the Mormon Church. The Mormons in the United States are very well known, and they're known as good people that want to help people. Usually, they don't get a bad name, and that's when Ruby Franke opened up her new YouTube channel and featured her family. A lot of people were fans from the get-go, and one of the reasons was that she was a Mormon. The channel's name was called 8 Passengers because she had 6 kids, and with her husband, that made 8 people. Ruby Franke was a vlogger. Every day she would record her and her family in front of the camera and upload it to YouTube as a vlog on what they did that day. The channel was very successful, and in a span of 5 years, they reached 2.5 million subscribers. A lot of people fall in love with this content and they think this is a loving family and they should treat their family just like these people. It seems like from the beginning, the vlogging was kind of a chore, and vlogging when you have to force it is not as genuine, but a lot of people were still fans of her videos. She also didn't want the videos to be the same thing over and over, so they would try new things even if the kids didn't want to. Everything is going well until we get to the year 2020. It's this year when in one of her videos she says that you cannot sleep on your bed. Then her son says, "I haven't slept on my bed for 7 months." And she says, "Well, you deserve it because you've been a bad kid." We don't know what happened. We don't know if Ruby Franke all of a sudden changed and started treating her kids like this, or she had always been doing it behind the cameras and now we're just seeing it. She even says in front of the camera that if your child does not listen, do not feed them. After things like this are being said in front of the cameras, a lot of her fans went against her and they commented on what the hell was that, are you joking? The way she was teaching her fans on how to treat children was making people turn on her. Like one of her videos, she said if your child does not listen, put him inside the car and take him for a ride to the nearest jungle. Drop him off there and tell him to walk back home. After this, a lot of people said that's enough. We cannot take this anymore. What is she doing to these children? In other videos, she tells her 2 youngest kids, which were under 6 years old, that Santa Claus is not bringing any gifts for you guys because you've been numb. Of course, once again, the people were pissed off. There's a website that's called change.org, and if you want someone online to change, like for example, if they're harming animals, harming children, doing something illegal in front of the cameras, you can report it and get signatures for them to stop and for the law to step in. They make one for Ruby Franke's channel, but nothing really gets done because after all this, she's still uploading 5 times a week. After this, the mother and the father decided to make a video in front of the camera to explain the situation. They said, what we meant by dropping your kids off at the jungle, we didn't really mean drop them off. We're just saying make them scared by doing that, but don't actually do it. This pissed off the fans even more, and they were very against this idea of treating children. And after the fans that are obviously hating, they continued to upload videos daily. It is after this video about misunderstanding that these two have a lot of problems and they decided to split up. And we don't really know the reasons behind it, but they did. This is when Ruby Franke decides to delete her 2.5 million subscriber channel. After this, she creates a new channel with a new lady, a lady named Jody Non-Hildebrand. These 2 ladies named their channel Moms of Truth. And it was not a vlogger style anymore. It was actually about teaching parents on how to parent their kids. 1 year passes of them making videos on this new channel and no news really gets out. The change.org thing is still there and nothing is being done. And there wasn't enough evidence for the police to do anything. But that's until we get to August 2023. One of Ruby Franke's son that was only 12 years old goes knocking on the neighbor's door. The neighbor opens the door and the kid says, "Can I have some food and water? I haven't eaten or drank anything in a very long time." When the neighbor heard that, he was shocked. He gave the child some food and water and immediately called the police. When the neighbor looks at the kid's hands, he also realizes that there's duct tape on it and it's bleeding, and he waits for the cop while he's extremely nervous. The kid would not really speak, but the cop assured him that he's in a safe place and he can speak up. And he pretty much run down on what was happening. He was tied up because of her mother and the new lady she met, because he wasn't listening. He was tied up to a chair with duct tape and he wasn't being fed. So he decided to break free and run out the window and come to the neighbor for some food. The police and the detectives immediately get to work to see what is happening before they make the arrest. And after they had all the proof, very quickly on August 30th, 2023, they attacked her home and arrested both Ruby Franke and Hildebrand. The next day, the court and the prosecutors show up and they charged each person with 6 counts of child abuse. Child abuse charges are a felony and they're very serious, and each of them got 6 of them because Ruby Franke had 6 children. And of course, all 6 children were not a fan of their mother. When they asked the children, "What about your father?" they didn't have much to say, especially negative things. The children weren't a fan of their mother and the new lady she brought around. When they took the children to the hospital to give them a health check, they realized that every single one of them were malnourished. The crime was so serious that they didn't even set a bail for these 2. The court date was 2 days ago, February 20th, 2024. Each of them got 60 years in prison for this. The court decided to investigate their father to make sure he's not just like their mother. And if everything checks out, they can return the kids to him. The children are still in Child Protective Services hands. And the lawyer of the father, meaning Kevin Franke, has announced that they're working to get the kids back to the father. Isn't it weird? A woman that's very successful and has a loving family, but all of a sudden she turns crazy? But maybe that was just in front of the camera and she was like this all along. This is when I'm gonna turn the microphone to you guys. What do you think? Did she go insane or she was always like this?